to my channel. Today I'm doing designer tissue paper using stencils. The first 20 minutes are done in real time. I'm explaining the process and what I'm doing and demonstrating. Then I'm going to speed up the second half. You'll still get to see the stencils I use and the different combinations. And at the end, I'm going to summarize my experience and then show pictures. Hi everybody, welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to do a technique tag, build your stash video. And it's going to look a little bit like something that you've seen me do before, and that is creating designer tissue paper. Now in the past, and I'll put a link to that video, what I've created is designer tissue paper, like the ones you can buy, using archival ink and a variety of my stamps, both large and small, texture and otherwise. And I love working with these papers. But it occurs to me that I have another tool in my stash, my stencils. And I have all these stencils and I think to myself, can I use the stencils to create designer tissue paper? So that's what I'm going to try out today. So I've grabbed some of my tissue paper, just dollar store tissue paper. I repurpose, you get a gift bag. I'm just as happy getting this because I hide it away in my stash. So tissue paper. Then I thought, you know what, I'm going to try the same thing on some deli paper. As well, I'm going to do it on the pull-off parts of the napkin. When you use a napkin, you pull off, there's 1 or 2 layers, and you have just the white. And I love collaging with the napkin paper because the edges just kind of melt away, and I just wonder how that will work. So we are going to experiment with using stencils and create our own designer collage papers, tissue paper, deli papers, napkin papers. So I'm going to flip the camera down, change into my paint clothes, and I'll be back to give this a try. Okay, so I'm just going to do it on the deli papers first, and I did try, I'm going to do it with my just cheapy dollar store makeup sponge. Now what's happening here is the makeup sponge is, when I rub it, is coming off. I don't know if you can see, there you go. You can kind of see that it's coming off. So I switched up to one of these, the mini ink blending foams. And what I've done is I just put dollar store Velcro on spools. I also have some on like old teacher stamps, so I peeled off the stamp and then I put the Velcro there. So I just have black paint and I'm wetting the sponge a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is because where I'm getting this idea from, I've done this with my coffee filters. And they're usually, it's wet on wet. So I just want some pattern on here. This is the Retro Bursts stencil. So that is good. And I just have a whole series of stencils here, large and small. This is the Art Is one of my very first you just kind of have to play with it. This is dotted ring. And you're layering on top, so it doesn't have to, the goal isn't to fill up every little last space. The goal isn't to even stencil it perfectly. Now, once you have this in your stash, this is perfect for quick and easy because now you don't have to drag out all the stencils. This is perfect when you are taking a trip and you can have all the stencils and glue that on. So I'm thinking that might be enough. I can always add more to this at another time. So I'm going to, this is the napkin, and it's very seemingly fairly fragile. I love this onion blossom stencil. Now you could use brown, you can use black. Let's do some brown just because. And I'm not putting a lot on of water, but I add just a little bit to. And I am using the same sponge that was on here before. I didn't even take the time to put a different sponge on. You don't want to get it too wet. On the deli paper, it's kind of waxy. Same thing, my tissue paper has a bit of a waxy feel to it. But this is working way better than the makeup sponge. And, you know, I'll put a link to the stencils. This is actually going on the napkin better than what I thought. I thought we would have a problem with it. Okay. And chicken wire reversed will be a good one here. You can mix the colors of your paints when you're stenciling. I could do this with color if I wished. I am not limited to just black and white and or black and brown and gray. I just think that unless I'm doing it for something specific that I know I want burgundy, you know, now, I mean, you could totally do this on tissue paper and it becomes wrapping paper, designer wrapping paper that you've done. And there I would use colors. Because I don't know what dark journal page this is going on, I am choosing to go more neutral. And for me, more with black than otherwise. I wrote sheet music and well, that's lovely. And remember, when you're collaging this on, in all likelihood, you're going to be ripping parts of it. You're not necessarily using the whole thing. Oh, I'm loving the look of this. I cannot express how much. And after the one little spritz of water that I got on the blending tool here, I have not added more water. I've added more paint. And it's wet enough. It's not smudging. It's not causing the napkin to deteriorate. Oh, I'm very excited to be able to use this napkin now. In my art. That is lovely. And maybe I'm going to put some of this on. I might do burgundy because I do a lot with the burgundy-ish tones, and I love that. I might choose also maybe to do something in blues, because again, that's something that I would be using a lot of. You know, if you do a lot of green, that might be your area, right? So tweak it. That's the benefit of doing designer, right? Doing it on your own, because you can personalize it however you need it, with colors or the size. You know, and here I have, you know, a little bit of a bolder pattern, a little bit of more finer. So that's, I'm loving this. It's another napkin. I'm just going to put black. This one, I love the motifs, the different patterns on this fantastical. I'm just going to get, I mean, really I'm just one little spray, so you can isolate one motif that you like. And I could, if I wanted to, mask off a certain area. If I wanted to be a little more precise, I could just take the masking tape and block just so I just get this pattern. But you know what, I'm okay with this. I don't want to overthink this. And I think that's where you get some great elements for your pages, when you're not overanalyzing. This one is quadrifoil reversed. I've had quadrifoil from the beginning of my creating art journaling mixed media time, and I recently found this one and I thought, yep, totally going to add this to my arsenal. And these are good basic ones. I think I'm going to do a video on, you know, basic, you know, my top 10 stencils. Can I do that? Can I even limit it to that? You know, or what you should get your first, you know, if you're just starting out. Because you got to protect those crafting dollars. You want to get stencils and stamps that are going to be usable in a lot of different applications. For me, I want stencils that I can use on my gel plate as well as on my art journal pages as well as on canvases. So you got different scales. So now I have both larger and smaller ones. And, you know, some might be of koi fish or a butterfly. Well, there's only so much of that you're going to do. That doesn't, you know, and I mean, I would definitely buy a butterfly stencil. Or if I have a specific project, I'm going to buy that. But that may not be one that you're going to use again and again and again and again. And when you're starting out, you really want to get some where you can really experiment. You can use texture paste, you can stencil with it, you can use, you know, you want to be able to this is a Rebecca Meyer stencil, and I'm loving that. That just yum. So my tissue paper, I mean, here we go. Oops. And don't worry if it's ripped or anything, because that will, you're not, unlikely that you're going to not rip it to be putting it on. And you know, when I'm doing this, I'm getting some that are very fine and some that you're getting more solid coverage. But as you can see, I'm not even trying to get the whole of everything on here. Now I could take my stamps, I could get out some of my stamps as well and, you know, do some, then bring up the stamps and add stamps and have at her, right? I'm simply going to stick to stencils for the video, but there you go. I have Tile Mania is another one that I think is such a good basic. And this one's a little finer, so you just get little bits of it here and there. loving this. Loving this. Got the butterfly here. Don't have that on lots of others, so. Just have fun. I find this is a good thing to do when you are in a creative slump. Just, you know, I get out my gel plate or I'll make these kind of papers because it just gets you out of your head. And I think, you know, I'm going to leave it like that. Speed up the video at this point. This is Floral Spectacle, and I love this little motif that's in it. And it has lots of interesting textures and parts. And if you use little bits, it's great, especially on this. This is one of my favorites, Dotted Ring. This is the 12 by 12 version of it. This one's called Texture Plate, and again, it has tons of designs and mark making. So you can get ideas for mark making or go along. I will be summarizing this at the end. This is also Texture Plate, just a different motif, and I'm following this with Sunflower Mandala. Now you can see here when I layer this stencil, the background gets very dark because it's such a fine stencil, but I'm anxious to use this collage sheet and see what happens. This is Plaid Fringe and Daisy Chain. And I wasn't exactly happy with how I used Daisy Chain here, but when I'm ripping it up and this becomes the first element on a page, it's going to be fine. But I did like the isolated motif of the daisy, so I put that on, and then I get the idea to put it in gold. I don't know how that's going to work when I use it as a collage paper. If it works the way I think it might, I may be doing a lot more of it. Then I have script words here. And Dotted Ring. Most of these stencils that I'm using are from the 2019 winter version. This is Texture Love, another big texture plate that has lots of different patterns. Sunflower Mandala, followed by linked tiles and retrobursts. Remember, the idea on these pages is just to get a lot of pattern down. This one's layered wallpaper, and then I come in with quattro motif. This is a great way to maximize the use of your stencils. We've seen the big version of plaid fringe. Now I've added the littler version. This is big flower, and I love using a portion of it, and quattro motif. Stay tuned because I'm going to summarize these in a minute, and you'll get a close-up of them. Okay, so this, absolutely, highly recommend doing this. I think you're going to have some lovely tissue papers that you can use for all sorts of things. The blending tools, I'm not going to lie, this one has taken a beating, but it was an old one that I'd had for a while. But when it comes to cleaning them, all I'm going to do is take them off, spray them with my Murphy's oil soap, and wash them and use them till they literally fall apart. I am not too worried about that, and they've lasted a long time with that, and I'm not a finicky person. So definitely 2 thumbs up. Absolutely. Play with colors of your own. It works well on tissue paper, it works well on deli paper, and surprisingly well, I wasn't expecting it to work as well on the pull-off sheets, the plies from the napkins. So I'm just going to show these. They're all very different, and we will see what I make of them in time. I wanted some bigger sheets because when I do canvases or something like that, I may actually want. So those are the ones that I did on tissue paper. Here is the deli paper. Now you might note, I don't know if you can see where it kind of lifted. I think if you go with a more matte finish, there's a more waxy side to your deli paper. So if you choose wisely, I wasn't paying attention. Again, not a big fan of this, but once I rip this up and it becomes collage papers, it's going to be fine. And quite honestly, it's a piece of paper. So worst case scenario goes in the garbage. I'm anxious to see with the gold in there. As I was doing this, I'm thinking, I wonder if what would happen if I had some with gold on the page, how that would look. So we'll experiment. If it works, then I'm totally going to be doing more of it. So get out your stencils. There we have it got very dark, but I'm thinking if you put that on a background, right? So those are the deli pages. Loving this stencil. And the thing is, it'll be one of a kind. Nobody else is going to have the collage papers that you have. Ooh, we're getting very busy here, sorry. Loving that one too, the combination. So grab your plies of your pulled off plies of napkins, grab your deli papers, and your tissue paper and go and create some lovely papers.